If you're not a qualified electrician and you need to get some more electrics around the house, the simplest way to do it is run an extension cable through the wall, plaster it back up, plug it in. Job done.
You don't get to stand in a building like this too often. It's just like a time capsule. Like, there's pieces of paper and newspapers and counter-texting mans that are just older than me. Honestly, this place is such a cool vibe that it's just walking history, literally.
So this property's in pretty bad repair. There's not really much that's survived the journey that this property's taken over the years. However, in the kitchen, all the spices have stood the test of time, so we're set for cooking.
Back to brick, I guess, on this one.
I don't know, I think we can keep the wallpaper.
Keep the wallpaper.
I think we're going to gut this one out completely, back to brick. Our plan is to turn this one into a HMO. We're thinking 7 rooms.
7 rooms, yeah.
Our initial plan was to go down into the basement. We're now appraising that plan to decide whether we're going to go up into the attic, but we'll have a look around and show you what we're looking to do with it.
Look at that ceiling.
Oh, I love the ceiling roses.
Look at that, that's beautiful. You don't see these in houses anymore. I mean, the chandelier could do with changing, but I love that rose. Even the coving's gorgeous, like.
So interestingly, this has got high ceilings, very similar to another one that we've done. And they've been able to keep the ceiling rose when they've dropped the ceilings for obviously fire eggs for HMO. Yeah. So hopefully if we can keep that, look quite nice.
I think it'll add some value to the rooms as well. I mean, it's just, yeah, you don't see stuff like that anymore.
No.
It's almost sad. I mean, I don't miss things like this wallpaper, you know, I mean, that's a bit grim. But at the same time, you know, I do like the feel of it. But huge rooms, have an ensuite in all the rooms, full ensuite in this one. All the rooms are so big. I mean, this one's got to be coming on 20 square meters, this room. It's massive. Obviously, rip out the fireplace, take all this out, rip out these corners, full back to brick, new heating system, new electrics, rewire, replumb, whole thing. This floor's solid though. This is one we can keep. There are a few rotted floorboards for sure. You'll notice single pane windows. They're not sash windows, which is cool, although it isn't a conservation area, but obviously we'll change all this out for UPVC, double glazed, and it smells dry. It's
actually quite dry. There's a few damp spots upstairs, but normally there's not a lot of damp coming through the chimneys, or if any in most of the rooms. Chimney looks okay. We've obviously had the survey come back. It's gonna need repointing and flashing at some points, but actually looks okay.
Yeah, the survey was surprisingly good on this one. I've seen worse surveys in two-bed terrace.
The survey was surprisingly long on this one.
It was quite long, yeah. They listed every square inch of this. Nice bit of rotted floorboard. In fact, that is the ceiling for the basement, so put your foot through that and we're going a long way down. Bit of a slope into this room, and I presume this was the old boiler.
So yeah, back boiler would be behind here. So this room again, we're going to have ensuite in this one as well. It'll be in this corner where James is, piggyback against the next one just to allow for everything to move the way we want it to. Again, we're going to be replacing these windows out for double glaze. All the plaster's come off and all the woodwork's rotten. It's not exactly still the dampest of rooms.
No, it's well ventilated.
Yeah.
What's the advantage, Anthony, of sticking en-suites back to back? And again, obviously there's rooms above here, so we're going to put them on top of here as well.
So it's going to make the whole refurb cheaper if we stick the en-suites back to back, because it's going to mean that the waste pipes and all the pipe work is going to be closer together, so it just saves a bit of time. And sometimes you can do what they call a Jack and Jill, where you can steal space from one another rooms to make sure that the en-suites are a little bit bigger.
Top tip there, if you're putting en-suites in rooms like this, arrange them so it saves you money. All right, into the kitchen, I guess, now. Jeez, I mean, I do like that stained glass window. I kind of feel like, do you think we could open this up and make it a bit more of a wider entrance in, or what would you do with this?
Well, so the plan with the kitchen is as follows. We're actually going to board this up
to
have a smaller access into the kitchen. Reason being is because we're going to open that wall completely into what was the garage. So we're going to have a big kitchen dining area. Personally, I just feel if you have this open plan as well, you've got open plan coming right the way through the hallway. And we probably just want to close it down a bit just to keep the heat into some of the rooms rather than have a completely open plan.
And fire eggs, we'd have to put some massive fire door in there, wouldn't we?
Exactly.
So this is your own home, you could open it up, it would be nice, but you're right, heat really would just get sucked out towards the front door. Hey Anthony, look at that.
Spiders, I don't like spiders.
Look at the shadow. So yeah, obviously just rip all this out, level off this concrete pad because I'm very much walking downhill here. Take the fireplace out and then knock through. I presume we're not knocking through the chimney breast,
We are.
We are knocking
and
through
I was
the
just
chimney
going to
breast.
say, our biggest issue with this particular room is we're obviously in the process of sending out a structural engineer to figure out what the best way to do this is. But because the chimney breast is obviously, it's double bricked right the way through, it's going to mean that we're going to have 2 steels there to go, which is a lot of work and a lot of cost as well.
Yeah.
But it will allow it to open it up the way we want it to. We are looking at some alternatives, whether we have some kind of access here. This is definitely still going to be
A back door.
yeah. So we're going to weigh it up and see what's going to work best.
Bit of damp here, but nothing too crazy. It's actually, like I say, it smells all right.
New builds are great because they serve a purpose, you know, to add to the housing stock. Yeah. But then we've got existing buildings like this that let's convert them, let's do something with them, because why do we want to see an empty town centre? Why do we want to see all these empty buildings? Let's do something out of them and make really nice buildings with them. And then, there is a place for new builds, but love
The
stuff
other thing
like
with doing
that.
this up is you're going to increase the value of the street. You're going to increase the quality of the area as well, so you're likely to reduce things like crime. Your neighbours are going to be thankful because obviously their house has gone up and they don't have a derelict one next door. Because I mean, eventually, if you left this would fall over and pull probably next door's down as well, or at least do some damage. Yeah. So you're helping them. And you put a new house back on the market that wasn't there before, so you contribute to housing supply, and it's good, and it's basically new inside because everything's got to go back. Yeah. So it's just as reliable, if not more so, than a new build. Yeah. There's no downside to doing a buyer for every finance or a conversion.
No. But you look at next door as well, and next door looks amazing. It's got brand new double glazed windows, you know, it's all been rendered, it looks fantastic. And then he's sat next door to this, so it must be really affecting his price of his house.
Yeah, I suppose it's that job satisfaction, isn't it, at the end, where you stand back and go, it was this, now it's this.
The before and after.
Yeah, the before and after, you just go, yeah, that's amazing. All the headache in the middle has been worth it to do that, whereas a new build is just, it's just a process.
This one is going to look unbelievable. It's going to look absolutely unbelievable. So as we come up the stairs here, the plan is these 2 rooms as we go into the front, we've obviously got the bathroom and a bedroom. We're going to be turning these into one full room with ensuite. Now where I'm obviously stood here, we can't make this a doorway because we've got to have some room where we come in from the steps. So we'll bridge this back a little bit and probably have the doorway about here to allow us to go into this room. And then this will be the bedroom. And then obviously have a door into the ensuite.
Massive room though. When you actually take the wall out and account for the bathroom space, because that's coming on 7 and a bit square meters as it is, and there's a bit of spacing still in that corner, and then you're going to add an entire meter.
The rooms are going to
width.
be huge. They're going to be absolutely huge. And obviously you can see with this particular one, this is where most of the damp is.
Do you know what you can see? Look where that bottom of that skirting starts. I mean, you can see it visually that this is obviously sloping down, but look at the gap as it just increases with the bottom of the skirt. And it drops a good inch. This is a bit soft in here, which is interesting.
I think this is joists that's caused the problem. And the reason why, again, not a structural engineer, but there's no cracks in the wall that you can see, and this has been expanding foamed.
It's put expanded foam in.
So, and the fact that you can see the floor's been cut out as well. So I'd hazard a guess that something's happened to one of the joists there. He's cut underneath it, maybe screwed or tied in another
few lengths
piece of
beam.
wood to it.
Yeah.
Probably 2 before.
2 before, yeah.
And then decided that'll do. Stick some expanding foam in there and away you go.
Potentially a leak from the bathroom or something.
It could be. It could be a number of things. You know, there's so much DIY work around the house that it wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't a structural issue. It's certainly not something that came up on the structural report. So
I think this Artex is even more aggressive than the one in the other room. Look at the depth of those. I don't even know what scoops. What would you describe them as?
Surprisingly, it's actually quite impressive.
It is in some ways. Also horrible in the same. Do love a building with good old character. And you know what I do love as well? These stairs. Look at the banister. And we're keeping this, which I love, although we are gonna have to go a little bit higher on this. It might be okay, because it's 900 for existing, 1200 for new. Hopefully we can keep it. Worst case, maybe we can still match it in terms of style and whatnot. This room is a really interesting room. There's no easy way of doing it.
Well, it's 2 rooms.
There's no way of sort of explaining what was the thought process behind this.
The thought process was, clearly had too many children.
So let's just box off a room. I mean, how would you lay this out with furniture? Like, what would you? The bed would have to go there in front of the door, so you'd open the door into the bed, or you have to get a triangle bed, like...
Interestingly, this is not the first property we've seen like this where they've
No.
literally
Stuck a wall in the middle of the window.
stuck a wall in the middle of the window. And it's not even a very good stud wall either, but this is going to come down completely. So this wall's going to come completely down, and we're going to have an ensuite again in that back corner. So it comes straight up with the rest of the house, and open this up into one big room.
So you can literally see the damp in the chimney as it comes out almost like 2 feet away from the chimney breast. You can see the bubbling in the paint and the plaster. You can literally see the salting from here. Obviously all the rot in the plaster and the lath and plaster is just there. You can just tell straight away by looking at it, there's a problem with the chimney. Even if you don't know what the problem is or what the various parts of the chimney are. So we say you don't need to be a structural surveyor to spot problems in a house.
When you see them kind of issues, it's normally either the pointing on the chimney,
Or the flashing.
the flashing, or the chimney cap is damaged. In this instance, we've got a combination of all three, which we've obviously, again, we've seen on the structural report, and then the odd holes in the chimney as well.
I mean, look at the shape of the plaster there.
Yeah.
It's literally just bowing out. It's just falling away from the wall. But yeah, get someone up there, repoint it, redo the flaunching, redo the flashing, cap it off if it's not capped already. It's actually a fairly cheap fix. It's not, you're not talking thousands upon thousands of pounds. Like if you want to get a scaff tower up, go around a chimney, repoint it, depending on the size, obviously you're looking at less than £1,000 to get up there and sort it all out.
Most expensive part being your scaffolding tower.
Yeah, your scaff tower, yeah.
The whole layout of this is going to change ever so slightly because we need to accommodate some additional space into the adjoining rooms. We're probably going to have the door to the adjoining room here, which will allow us to then utilise this space here to accommodate an ensuite for this room here. So that means that door for this particular room will go away, and then this space will be encompassed by a new ensuite, which will allow us, so when we walk into this particular room, we've got ensuite on the left, and it will give us a big bedroom space. We're waiting for floor plans. We may have to move this wall ever so slightly across, just to give us some additional space. But I think if we go backwards this way and snatch some space from that one, then it's going to give us what we need for it. And here's our main sort of issue with damp. It's looking like it's coming from the gutter in, but it's difficult to tell. We saw the neighbour, didn't we? And he said there's gutters are quite blocked and full. One other thing we discussed about this, so we mentioned before we were considering going down into the cellar to put a bedroom in there. We are still weighing up the options of that with costs with builders, but James has been into the attic this morning. I think we're going to get a good room up there.
Yeah, set the stairs in, probably the first step probably be about there, and obviously just walk in that way, but the headroom's huge. You've got like 20 feet from one side to the other, and I can easily stand up with loads of headroom, even Matt can stand up.
What did the architect say? As it is, headroom's about 2.7?
2.7 on the headroom, and then you got just under 2.5 meters of that headroom, like between the rafters. So it's a big room. It's probably, I mean, he said it was the biggest attic conversion he'd ever done if he did this. Like, it is a really, really ginormous space. And we've got double ceilings. You could tell even if that hatch was closed that there would be a double ceiling because it feels low in comparison to all the other rooms. And this is still a good height. This isn't a low ceiling, but after you've been walking in those rooms and you see that 9-10 foot ceiling.
We spoke to the neighbour earlier and they've got Velux windows in their attic. So even though we're in a conservation area, it screams good points for us. So we're going to be able to convert it hopefully.
And, you know, we've got a choice. Attic or basement.
Exactly.
You know, one means putting stairs in, getting extra sign off from the building control, and maybe slightly more difficult with planning. But then the other one, you've got tanking, you've got a new concrete pad, and it's just swings and roundabouts. They're going to be roughly the same kind of cost. I'm putting my money on getting the attic room in a little bit cheaper, but you give yourself options, and that's what I love about this house. Hey, you might even be able to get 8 beds in this, who knows? This for me is the room that I actually really like, not because of the room, but because of the contents of the room. If you look at this, we have a council tax demand from June 1997. That makes this piece of paper older than me. I'm like the youngest thing in this house. Look at that.
That makes me feel old.
They've got photo reels and everything. Like it's a beautiful place, honestly. Like the character and the history in these buildings. This is why we like doing conversions. We were saying it earlier with Stu. Conversions are just more interesting. Don't know what it is. It's just something about them, more substance to it.
I think again, it comes back to the character, doesn't it? And like, in all seriousness, what was that hook for? If anybody knows, comment below. I think it's something to do with photography. And I think that this was some kind of development room or something, because this screams out slides. Oh, it could be something to do with a projector.
You might have hung a screen off it, do you reckon, then put a projector in there. The other thing I was seeing here, is this a blackout material for the windows? Potentially.
I mean, this could have been something like a dark room, couldn't it?
Yeah, so I was just thinking, it could be in a dark room or something and he's hanging that there or something like that. Geez, those drawers are big.
He definitely liked photos.
So yeah, this is our latest house. This is gonna be an exciting one. I can't wait to see this one go through. So we're due to complete on this on Monday and put the planning through.
Yep.
8-12 weeks, standard sort of time frame on that. I mean, given the size of it in comparison to the other stuff we've done, yeah, you might get it done in 16 weeks.
I reckon 16 weeks. The key will be getting building control on site to start with, just make sure we're happy to start. And then we get the building work completed quite quickly after that then.
A lot of people tend to bring building control in like halfway through the project, don't they? But bring it in up front, get them on board, get everything sort of approved up front. That way you haven't got to do any intrusive changes, not ripping out walls you just put up and ripping out plaster you've just skimmed. Like, that's when things get expensive. But yeah, get them all up front and that way you're covered as well if they change the regs.
Yeah.
Awesome. Stay tuned for future updates on this one.
See you next time.